Beware all, for Biden has foretold that there will be an economic meteor coming in the very near future.
Meteor is headed to crash into our economy. Democrats are willing to do all the work stopping it. Republicans just have to let us do our job. Just get out of the way. If you don't want to help save the country, get out of the way so you don't destroy it.
Evidently, that meteor's name is Joe Biden because, well, if we're going to talk about economic problems and the particular economic problems which are going on now in the United States, all of them can be fairly decently traced back to the Biden administration, or Democrats more broadly, I suppose. I mean, you could look at the lockdowns, which of course are now being called COVID lockdowns and are being blamed on a virus that literally doesn't have sentience or control over policy decisions, so far as I'm aware, but in reality are the fault of the Democratic governors and even some Republican governors who were instituting these policies and locking down the economy, thus making it collapse. That is one of the myriad problems that we're having. Another one happens to be the debt ceiling, which is the one that Biden finds the most pressing, at least at this point, because his Treasury Secretary has come out, and Janet Yellen has come out and said that if we do not raise the debt ceiling, then there will be a recession in 2 weeks. Of course, this is freaking out on a level that is simply incomprehensible, especially considering this problem has quite a few very simple solutions that are simply not being considered. I mean, consider all of the solutions being proffered at this particular moment. You have printing a $1 trillion coin, defaulting on our debts, which would be disastrous for a number of reasons, which I'll get into later, and raising the debt ceiling, which simply prolongs the problem for tomorrow. All of these problems are unideal and also not solutions to the problem. I mean, I guess you could say the first one, but that's so massively inflationary that should never be considered, even in jest. But really, the solutions to these problems are quite simple. Stop spending so much on random nonsense. Don't pass the $3.5 trillion spending bill, which is going to massively increase debt, even if Biden says, well, no, it's actually not because tax increases. And start paying off the debts you already have. Those are the solutions to the problem. The very simple and obvious ones. But those are solutions which are not being proffered by Joe Biden, and more importantly, I think, by the media. Because the media has been one of the worst episodes for them in quite a while in this particular instance. I mean, the $1 trillion coin is being pushed by a whole lot of media outlets, and a lot of them have been pushing the idea that it's either raise the debt ceiling or default, which is simply stupid. If you want to get out of debt, taking out more debt in order to not default on the debt that you already have is really stupid. I don't know why I need to explain this to people who supposedly have successful businesses or, have any sort of money at all, but having more debts does not fix the debts you already have. It just makes it worse. It's not even like we're refinancing the debts either, because it's not like we're going to be taking out more debt in order to replace the debt we already had at a lower interest rate or something like that. No. Instead, we're raising the debt ceiling so that we can spend more money on worthless nonsense. That's what's happening now. That's what they want to do. That's what the Build Back Better program is designed to do in the first place, on top of course, corporatizing cryptocurrency. All of these things are massive oversights that are being done by the government, and very simple ones at that. But what else can you expect from Joe Biden? I mean, he has displayed a level of economic incompetence that has been basically unseen since the Jimmy Carter administration. Or, heck, if you wanted to go even farther than that, you could say certain other foreign countries which have less than ideal economies. I mean, even if you didn't want to take any of the obvious simple solutions, like paying off the debts, and even in that case, inflating a bit in order to help alleviate the costs on that front, what you could do instead is something a bit more extreme. You could go to war with China, and, there's a lot of justification for doing that now. We could talk about the fact that China has created the coronavirus and caused a lot of problems for the world as a result. But we don't even need to do that, because we can talk about what they're doing right now with their saber-rattling on Taiwan. They've been talking about trying to take Taiwan for quite a while. But I don't believe them. I mean, I've stated this a number of times, but if you're gonna do it, just do it. I don't want to see you violating their airspace basically for fun and to pretend that you're doing something, while all the while not doing literally anything at all in order to go against Taiwan, because you know in your heart of hearts that going to war with the U.S. would be utterly disastrous, particularly to your economy, as it would collapse almost instantaneously, and kind of is in the middle of collapsing anyway, despite the fact that the biggest threat to your economy, Donald Trump and his threatened tariffs, not even actual tariffs, isn't even in office. I mean, China has had a lot of problems. Just look at their real estate market. But one thing that the Americans could do is simply sanction them. Even if you don't want to go to war, which would obviously have a number of issues, bloodshed and all those sorts of things are things we do want to avoid, you could just sanction China. You could say, okay, we're going to write a bill about China and all of the problems in China, and you start by having a 100-page document about every single thing that China has done wrong. You add in the Uyghur Muslim genocide, you add in every single CCP tragedy and massacre and famine and all of that throughout all of history, because they haven't disavowed basically any of it, and simply put on the end, in about a one-page document, here's what we're going to do. We are going to cancel all our debt with China. We are going to demand they pay us a bunch of money. We're going to sanction their economy and prevent them from exporting to us or any of our allies. We are going to prevent any Chinese national from owning property, which we should already be doing anyway, but, you know, hey, add it in here. That would fix a lot of problems as well. And that's it. That's all you need to do. China would collapse really quickly. I mean, it would probably cause a war anyway, if I'm being completely honest, but hey, these sorts of things are sort of inevitable, and that's sort of the point with all of this. When it comes to debt, eventually you have to pay it off, and that's going to be painful, because you're going to have to spend less money in order to do that. You're going to have to lessen your budget and pay off the debt by giving regular payments and actually paying on the principal rather than just the interest. You're going to have to hurt a little bit. It's going to cause you a bit of pain. You're going to have to tighten your waist belt a bit and actually do your responsibility. And that is going to be the case no matter what solution you choose. But choosing to simply raise the debt ceiling and postpone it to another day is simply going to make the problem worse, on top of the fact that this is a problem which has been worsening for upwards of 100 years. What we have essentially been doing in America for the past century is taking all of the things which we couldn't pay for over that century, and we are compressing it all to the point where it actually has to be paid off. All you're doing is pushing all of these expenses, all of these problems, and compressing it into a single generation, a single moment, where all of it will come biting back at you, where the piper will come to be paid. Eventually it will happen. And when that happens, you have to live with the consequences. And now, at least, you can stave that off. We're not yet at the point where the U.S. actually has to default on any debts and cause all the problems that would cause. We could use the very simple, moderate, and obvious solution which could avoid these problems in the future. And yes, it would hurt. It would hurt a bit, because the government wouldn't be able to spend as much money to Facebook and Google and other corporate lobbyists. Oh no, shock and horror. Really, this is a problem which has to be solved. And yeah, that's going to involve a certain amount of inflation. I completely accept that. It's not just going to be solved using the currency which already exists. That's basically mathematically impossible so long as you want to have any of the currency which exists in the US still in the hands of the citizens. But it's a problem that has to be solved, and it's a problem that can be solved. And if you liked that video, do in fact subscribe down below if you enjoyed it. Then also check me out on other platforms. I'm on BitChute, I'm on Odyssey, I'm on Rumble, I'm on Brighteon. I'm also on Minds and Gab and Getter now. Check that out, all in the description. Also check out breakingonthedailies.locals.com for that community. I'm KelKidman. This has been Breaking on the Daily, and I'm out.